Hello everyone, today we're going to be doing the best lines in movies. And we're going to be doing them in order by release date. So we have here as the first movie, we have Prisoners, which is just an excellent movie itself, and one of the most iconic moments of the movie. Again, we're going to go into spoilers here, if you don't want to be spoiled by the movies, is the Where's My Daughter, and like him breaking the breaking the sink. It's just super iconic, and it's just such a great moment. The whole movie is super tense, but also like very like has this again like the posters are all kind of blue, kind of has this blue, like very light blue. It's very kind of calm, but also kind of a very very like dark film. And there's just a lot of things you can think of the movie, and it's just a great movie overall. And that one little part is just really well done. Now, a little bit of a random one is going to be very much at the beginning of this great Tarantino movie, and it kind of just sets up the tone. And this is the line I remember the most when Brad Pitt is telling them he wants like 100 Nazi scalps. That's such an iconic line. I mean, maybe not, but I really liked it, and it also kind of sets up the tone of the movie. Kind of the Tarantino's take on what happens in World War II. I hope I've got that right, but yeah, it's a great line in my opinion. I it's kind of a wild card, but I kind of just thought of it. Now we have two lines from one of my favorite movies of all time, which is There Will Be Blood, which is just such a good movie. I mean, it's so haunting in a way, but it's also super entertaining. And there's two super iconic lines there, and I think that if I guess you should, most people already know these lines, even if they haven't seen the movie. Which is, of course, I've abandoned my child, I've abandoned my boy. It's like such a powerful line. You know, Daniel Day-Lewis is such a great actor, one of the best. And especially the I Drink Your Milkshake is just super iconic. And the whole movie is just so good. It kind of adds up to that being such a crazy movie. Kind of a random one, but one of my favorite movies is the first Saw movie. And it's kind of a cheesy movie, but in such a good way that I so love this movie. And one of the most honestly, I don't even think it's super iconic, but I really love. First of all, it has my favorite twist ending of all time, and probably I just kind of think of this, but when at the end when Adam, this is spoilers. Please go watch the movie. Don't like. I'm not going to get into it, but that last moment at the end when Adam, screams at the end, it's just so good. Like that whole tense moment with the music and the game over is just so perfect. It's not really even a line, but I just love that moment, and it's kind of a line. And it's super iconic. Well, not really. I guess I just really like it. Now we have another line from one of my all-time favorite movies. Now, I'm not going to go into details, but it's kind of like that last scene of the movie, his little tiny little moment there. I haven't seen the movie in a while. I don't know exactly what he says. I don't want to go into detail for spoilers, of course, but that last little line in the end really puts a full circle on the movie. It makes you think about the whole movie again, which is just such a great line, and the whole movie is so perfect. It just works really well. Now we have not really a line in the movie, but kind of a scene and what he says in that whole scene. Now I don't remember. It's kind of hard to remember lines from a movie that I think is a French movie, right? I'm pretty sure. Um, but the whole scene is super iconic in the bathroom in the kind of near the beginning where he has the gun and he says some things. Just such a great, all those lines, everything about the movie is just every little detail that they add to it that adds to the movie itself. It's one of my favorite movies too, but that whole end part is just so great. It's just a phenomenal scene when he's in the bathroom with the gun. It's just such a great scene. Next, we have probably one of the more iconic ones that's going to be on this list. I'm trying to evade the movies that just have iconic lines that might not be my favorites. These are all movies that I personally really love. And Forrest Gump, again, it's just the line, the box of chocolates line. Everyone knows the line. It's a great line. The movie is great, so you probably already know it. Next, we have one that you guys are probably going to know, but maybe. This is a great movie, one of my all-time favorites. I always loved this movie for a very long time, And I especially love the scene where I now know why you cry. It's just such a good scene at the end of the movie. A perfect movie overall. James Cameron just needs to stop with his blue aliens and go back to what he's great at. Now, it's not really going to be one scene, but literally any one of her lines, Kathy Bates in the movie Misery, one of my favorite movies too. It's just so quotable, even though I don't remember much, because I don't remember many quotes. But, like, again, when she says misery child, every single time she says it, it's just so creepy. It's everything about the movie. Just every one of her lines. Just count that, just every one of her lines. Next, we have one of my favorite movies, which is Dead Poets Society. Now, a lot of people are probably not going to really think about this one, but for me, just at the end when he says, "Thank you, boys," when they all... Okay, you know what, fine. I'm not going to spoil it, but when they all get up on their... they all stand up. It's just such a... It's one of my favorite movie endings of all time, and that just truly, wraps up in a nice little bow. Robin Williams is so perfect in that movie, so, yeah, I just really like that line. Next, we have a more one that most people don't actually know is from this movie, but I did hear it from this movie, and it is absolutely hilarious. Now, I'm not really going to read it, but it's the "I chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum" line, which is just so funny, and the whole movie is just so phenomenal. It's one of my favorites. John Carpenter is a legend. You can't replace him. I hate that The Fog was remade. I don't even need to see that to know I hate it. And one of the more iconic lines is when Vincent D'Onofrio, I hope I'm saying that right, I probably didn't, says Full Metal Jacket at that scene right there in the bathroom. It's just so good. It's such a good movie. It's one of my, maybe not Kubrick's best, but it's a phenomenal war movie, one of my favorites. And that line is absolutely amazing. And that whole, back half is so great. And another super iconic one from one of my all-time favorite action movies of all time is, of course, Get to the Chopper. That's just such an iconic line by Arnold there. And, there's a lot of great lines in the movie, but that's probably the most iconic. And the whole movie has this really cool feel to it. It's just a really cool movie, and that line is so good. Next, it's kind of not really a line, but it kind of is. Again, another John Carpenter masterpiece is going to be Christine, when at the end, Christine, using the radio, says, "I will always love you" through the song is just super cool and also kind of creepy because the car kind of thinks for itself. And it's just such a cool place, such a cool line, and most people don't think of this movie or even talk about it, which is really sad because it's such a good movie. Next is from my all-time favorite John Carpenter movie, and most people's favorite, which is The Thing, which is one of the best movies ever made. It's so sad that I know that people hated it back when it came out, which is just ridiculous. It's such a good movie, but I kind of understand why maybe back then people didn't like it. But the line where he's saying that if you're all the creatures, then I'd already be dead now. So I know that some of you guys are still alive, which is just such a scene. It's every single scene is so cool, and the practical effects. It's you can't get enough of this movie. And that line is probably the best in the movie. Next is going to be one I kind of forget about, but I do remember being a really great line from this really good movie, The Elephant Man, which is where he starts breaking down and crying when he's like, "Oh, a beautiful girl has never ever said something so nice to me." And I think that's just a really sweet line, and the whole movie's just really sad. So I think that line's a great kind of really great moment there. So I think that I'm gonna have to add that. Now I hope I'm right, and he says this in this movie, but the "Yo, Adrian" is just so good. It's it's such a great line. I hope it is from this movie. I hope it's not from the sequels. So now this is kind of not really a specific line, but every time the voices on the phone call are just so creepy and so disturbing, and all those scenes are so great. And every scene is great in the movie, but on the telephone, and the way he talks is just so creepy. All those lines are great. 2001 is one of my all-time favorite movies. I think people think it's boring, and that is ridiculous. It's not boring at all. People are really silly. Calling that boring is ridiculous. It is not boring. It's a visual masterpiece, and it's a masterpiece on its own. But the line where he's like, "I'm sorry, I just can't do that," is just so iconic. Everyone knows it, and there's even a couple more lines, but I don't really remember them, that they're just so good in the movie. Now we have one of my all-time favorite horror movies, which is Psycho. Just such a great movie. one of Alfred Hitchcock's best. And of course the super iconic line, "A mother's a boy's best friend," is just such a great line. It's just like kind of a creepy line, but also kind of a. It's just such a great line for the whole movie. It just really works.